I'm sorry. It is December. I figured I would do some glamorous makeup look for the holiday season. But realistically, I don't really go party or I don't go out. So if this is not what you think glamorous is, my apologies. I also got the McGrath Huetopian palette for a really long time now. I'm not a pro makeup artist, but I'm always drawn towards those beautiful, beautiful palettes. So I figured this is a great chance to play around with this palette. If you're curious to see how I came up with this look, then keep on watching. For primer, I used the L'Essential Pore Minimizer from Guerlain. This one is one of my all-time favorite primer. It gives you a very smooth canvas and does a really great job on pore minimizing. It should also do a little bit oil control, but because I'm not looking for that matte finish, so I didn't pay too much attention on the mattifying part. For foundation, I decided to go with the YSL Touche Eclat Tint foundation. I'm in the shade B30. I remember when it first came out last year, I was super hyped about it. YSL has one of the best complexion products, in my opinion. Their Touche Eclat Tinted Moisturizer, the one in the squeezy tube, is my all-time favorite. The problem is, for me, I typically don't go towards a full coverage foundation because I like something lighter weight on the skin. This one is almost perfect for that. It still has a fairly liquidy texture and it's super easy to blend out. I know in the bottle and when I first pump it out, it looks very yellow. I feel like I'm more of a neutral undertone, but once I blend it out, it works perfectly for me. Nowadays, there are so many brands coming out with so many new products, I almost forgot I have this one. Every time I put it on my skin, I always want to wear it more, so maybe I'll put it closer to my everyday makeup. Yeah, I should do that. For concealer, it's not necessarily a concealer. You can call it a brightener if you want to. So this is the YSL Touche Eclat Radiant Touch Brightening Pen. I'm in the shade number 2. So it's one of those clicky pens. I'm pretty sure I mentioned this in my previous videos. It has been my all-time favorite for a really long time. So for the brightening pen, it doesn't have too much of a coverage, but it does a great job of brightening. I have a pretty dark under eye area, and this one just did the magic to reflect the light away almost. It feels like instead of covering it, it just redirects it so you can't tell it's dark circle. I can't describe it. It's a very liquidy texture. Typically one click would be enough for my under eye area, center of my face, and it's super easy to blend out. So far, it doesn't matter if it's on my bare skin or on other foundations. It always works beautifully. If you're looking for something for brightening the under eye area and you're not looking for a full coverage, I highly recommend. Next, let's talk about powder. I believe so far on my channel, at least I talked about the Hourglass setting powder, the Chanel setting powder, the Guerlain Meteorites. They're all still my all-time favorites. To switch things up a little bit, I put out the Armani Neo Nude Fusion Powder in the shade number 2. Honestly, in the pen, it looks like a very subtle highlight. Once again, I think it was from Michelle Wang, one of her videos. She was mentioning she's using this guy as a setting powder, and I was like, no way. No. Because number one, it looks shimmery in the pen, and me personally never willingly go for a dewy look. So in my mind, I was like, yeah, maybe she has dry skin, she loves dewy finish, so that's why she would use that as a setting powder. I remember there were a sale going on where certain items were half off from Armani. So I saw this powder and I was like, maybe I'll give it a shot. Worst case scenario, if it can be a full face setting powder, maybe I'll just use it as a highlight. So that's how I got it. The interesting thing is that if you're using a fluffy brush, it doesn't seem shiny on the face at all. I know my look today looks fairly dewy, but it's not from this setting powder. It just gives you a very soft, light, velvety finish. So it doesn't look dewy, but it doesn't look flat either. It is a beautiful powder. After one try, I just instantly fell in love. Especially on those days I feel like not alive. At least least this powder can make me look like I'm alive. And fun fact, till today I realized there is a little brush underneath the powder. Next, let's talk about highlight. Today I'm using one of the shades from the Dior Backstage Glow palette in the palette number 2, Glitz. I remember this palette was very popular at one point and it was sold out everywhere. I happened to see it in stock, so I decided to grab one myself. Not only I don't typically go for a dewy look, I really have a habit of wearing highlights. But for this one, there are 2 shades that's more on the glittery side and 2 shades on the shimmery or like sheen side. So I'm okay with the Saddle Sheen, and I was thinking maybe I'll just use the glitter ones as a topper for my eyeshadows. So on the cheekbone, I'm wearing the glitter strobe pink gold. When I'm applying it, I can see the glitter, but from far away, you don't feel like you have glitter all over your face. All 4 shades are super pretty. They have beautiful undertones, and I can see it's being flattering on a lot of people. Next, I have the Filmstar Bronze&Glow Face Sculpt and Highlight palette from Charlotte Tilbury. I'm using the fair to medium one. I believe when they first came out, there's only 1 palette, and then afterwards they decided to add 1, maybe 2 more for darker skin tones, which is awesome. So for this one, swatch-wise, I would think the Sculpt powder is a little bit too light, but it just creates a very subtle shadow on the skin, so it's like barely there, but effective enough. But the powder is so fine, so soft, it's very easy to work with. Charlotte Tilbury's powder is very, very beautiful. I have this palette, I have their bronzer, and I heard the finishing powder is super, super beautiful too. It's on my list. Maybe in the future I'll grab one. For the highlighter part, it's very, very subtle. Typically I would just use it on top of the cheekbones, top of my nose. But today, besides those 2, I also decided to use it for my under eye area. It does a really, really great job on brightening, and you just bring enough light for the under eye area looks more supple. This is actually the first time I tried for the under eye area. I definitely love it. This year for Dior holiday collection, I didn't pick up too much items. I only picked up the 2 blushes. I believe I used the darker one in the previous full face first impression video, so today I decided to use the lighter one. This one is a very beautiful neutral pink. It's very universal for different occasions, different time of the day, different seasons. You can use this one no matter what. So this is the Rouge blush in the shade 556. If you still can get your hands on those limited edition blushes, I highly recommend. Whenever I apply base product, I always like to spritz my brush with setting sprays. That way I find it makes my foundations last longer. Hence why a lot of the time for everyday makeup look, I would just skip the setting spray. For today, it is a full face makeup look and we went through a lot of steps just for complexion. I decided to go in with a setting spray to melt everything together. So I used the Dior Forever Perfect Fix Set, Refresh and Hydrating Setting Spray. This one will be one of those multi-use spray where you can use it to prime the skin, set the skin, or use it as a refresher throughout the day. It does help me in the sense that melts all the layers together. Longevity wise, it does a decent job where whenever I'm using it, I find my makeup will last all day. But to be fair, I rarely wear makeup for that long. Typically 6 to 8 hours. I also like the fact it's hydrating. Sometimes whenever I have a full face makeup and I have layers and layers and layers of powder, at the end of the day I will feel cracky. This setting spray definitely helped me combat that. I do really enjoy it. The only thing ever so slightly bothers me is that the spray is not super fine. It's an okay spray, but now comparing with other super fine mist, it just seems a little aggressive. The spray head doesn't affect the quality of the spray, so it's still a decent setting spray. Next, star of the show. I have the McGrath Mothership 10 Huetopian Dream Palette. McGrath is definitely one of the brand I always enjoy their shadows, and it seems their shadow quality is very, very consistent. The only thing I don't enjoy from them is probably the price point. It's very, very expensive. But for those Mothership palette, It feels very durable in the hand. The build quality is definitely worth the price. And the shadow pen size is very, very big. I always drawn towards a good pink eye look. So when I saw this Huetopian Dream and all those sparkly sparkles, I can't, it has to be mine. Nowadays, because I enjoy quick and easy eye looks, I always just being lazy and grab one of those quads or quints or even single shadows, wipe them on the lid and head out of the door. So when it's like a full 10 pen, 12 pen palette, I just don't have the patience to like sit down, pick different colors and build the colors up and use like 4 or 5 different shades for a complete eye look. And because I want to do a glamorous, somewhat glamorous look, for today, I really want to have some me time and play with makeup, so I decided to go with this palette, and this is what I come up with. So I only swatched the 4 shades that I used on my eyelid. Secret Eden is kind of like a light mauve pink all over my lid. And then I used the Extreme Plum Noir for the outer corner. I used the shade Cosmic Bloom for the inner half of my lid. I use the Astro Venetian Orchid. I think that's one of the special shades from the Mothership palette, just for the center of the lid, to give it a pop. I love how the eye look turned out, because it's kind of like a soft glam where if you're wearing it on the daily basis, it doesn't seem too overboard. But if it's for a night out, you probably can just add a black wing liner and wear falsies to make it more of like a nighttime look. At least to me, it doesn't seem too boring. Leave me a comment down below, let me know if you want to see a full palette swatch. Maybe I will do that and come up with different eye looks for you. So for lashes, I'm using the Chanel eyelash primer and the Allure mascara. I talked about them multiple times in the past video, so I won't talk too much about it. And then I did use a Chanel pencil liner in the soft reddish color for my waterline. Last but not least, for lips, I have the Chanel Rouge Allure Velvet in the shade number 47. I can't read that word. Because the eye look is kind of cool tone pink, I want the lip to be somewhat pink, somewhat purple as well. This shade looks very purple in the tube. It pulls more pink than I thought, which is not a bad thing at all. Especially with my hair colors right now, this lip color matches perfectly. Overall, I really like how this look turned out. I hope you enjoyed this look as well. Because I own the Huetopian palette for this long and rarely play with it, my main goal is to inspire other people like me who owns palette, never use it, to use them more. Let me know, do you like McGrath palettes? Which one is your favorite? Which one is on your list to buy the next? I'd love to know. If you haven't watched my full face luxury makeup first impression, I will link it here. Hit the like button if you enjoy this video. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the video. Bye!